A true SIM implementation or a true SOC implementation tends to be very complex and expensive, which keeps it out of bounds for a lot of the companies.
Partha, I'm excited to be able to chat with you today. Cysiv, on your homepage it says Manage Threat Detection and Response. Tell me, as we get into this, what was the problem you initially saw that you said, I need to build a solution? How did that lead to what you guys have today?
Alexander, good morning, and thank you for having me with your show today. And yeah, so if I look back to the genesis of Cysiv, the company, we were looking inside the SOC and looking at what the customers were dealing with inside a SOC, a security operations center, right? Cybersecurity is forefront now, both as boardroom conversation, as C-level conversation, because this is a true risk. This is a real risk for most companies. And as you can tell, especially after COVID-19, just the number of breaches and number of attacks keep rising every day. So a lot of companies are investing a lot of money in cybersecurity tools. But the effectiveness of cybersecurity tools, a big component of that is how efficiently are they being monitored and configured properly, right? Is somebody looking at what these tools are catching? And are these false positives? So basically making sense out of all the investment that these companies are making in buying the firewall devices, the IDS, IPS devices, the cloud security devices, the end user protection, and so on. And if you're not monitoring them, then they're half as effective, right? So that's where the role of security operations center is really important. And we noticed a few trends over the years. Number one was a key anchor inside a security operations center is SIM, a security incident and event management technology. And these technologies have been around for a long time, over 20 years now. And you know, as it often happens, these technologies over the years have caught a lot of baggage and fantastic products. But the market, the customer are expecting a lot more out of this space. And as a result, you know, when you're that big and when you're that sizable, it's hard to innovate and keep pace with what the market is expecting. So SIMs were not innovating fast enough, and that's the reason why different spaces came about, like you know, SOAR or a threat intel platform or UEBA. These are all, you know, spaces in the cybersecurity business that came about because SIMs were not stacking up, and we saw an opportunity. And from a customer standpoint, the complexity is now they have to buy multiple products, right? It's very fragmented, and try and bring them all together, glue them all together to make it all work. And it's expensive, it's complicated. Finding people who are trained to make all this work is hard, and the responsibility falls on customers. The other part that plays along is cybersecurity today is a big data problem, right? There's just so much data being created in an enterprise, and it's impossible to throw people alone at the problem. You have to leverage the latest in data science and automation, and help customers churn through massive amount of data. We also observed that a true SIM implementation or a true SOC implementation tends to be very complex and expensive, which keeps it out of bounds for a lot of the companies. And we saw an opportunity to democratize the concept of SIM and SOC and threat hunting for most companies out there. And there's an opportunity where everybody can get access to it. And last but not the least is just a lack of cyber skill resources worldwide, definitely in US, but worldwide. There's a massive gap. There's not enough people that are trained who our customers can find and train and retain. And we saw the gap, and our hypothesis when we came into this business, when we started creating this product, was we need to make this really simple for our customers. Simple in terms of how they consume it, simple in terms of how they pay for it, and simple how in terms of the value this platform provides for them. So that's what we did. We leveraged the magic of cloud and data science and automation to build a completely SaaS-based SOC platform, a security operations center platform. Think of this as kind of the next generation of the SIM technologies I was talking about. This platform is in the cloud. It can ingest data at scale from our customer environments. And it does native ingestion from cloud and networks and endpoints and all and so on. So basically get all kinds of data in. Data science churns through all that data to find those interesting, actionable incidents and alerts, and we automate the investigation process. So as a part of the platform, and at the end, we also have our experts who can take this filtered down set of alerts that they work with our customers on remediating that for them. And the goal, again, like I said, is a complete end-to-end platform. Make it easy to consume, as in there is nothing to install at a customer environment. It's all SaaS. We ingest data in the cloud, and then have the people support that they need to be able to leverage a platform like this.
Father, help me understand, what would your target market, what would they be using before they found you? And why would they say, okay, now I want to switch, or why would I want to add what you have?
That's a great question. So combination, some of our customers didn't use anything. Like we have customers with billions of dollars in revenue who did not have a proper 24/7 SOC. And there is many out there who can't because of resource limitations, budget limitations. They're early in their journey, all kinds of reasons, right? There's some who didn't have anything. Now they have access to something which is cloud and easy to consume. And in some cases, customers, the more sophisticated ones, had a combination of on-prem solutions with cloud, a lot of people thrown at the problem, kind of old technology being used inside the SOC, and really expensive to monitor and manage, and complex. And it leads to our customers' resources, cyber resources, not being able to focus on the high-level items. Right? They are so deep in the weeds because of the constant flow of data. They struggle to keep up. And we hope to make that all easier, both at the sophisticated customers, where there is a platform which will do a certain percent of work for them so that they can focus on the heavy duty items. And then for everybody else who are not able to afford it, for the complexity, for the cost, for deployment challenges, now we have a solution for all of them.
Are there cases where there's other solutions and people are maybe using them where it's just a SaaS or just a hardware solution that gives them the answers? Is where your angle coming in, where you're providing a managed service then? Is that what is one of the differentiators?
It's a big differentiator for sure. As you can imagine, running your own infrastructure comes with its obviously pros and cons, but it has a lot of challenges, especially in a COVID-19 where the workforce overnight went distributed, right? And there is no room where everybody can get in and run a SOC. So now CIOs and CISOs are increasingly asking the question, I had this infrastructure on-prem, how can I move it to cloud so that I can be disruption proof, right? It's about making sure that there is business continuity, and situations like pandemic or anything else does not disrupt my business, right? And these questions are being increasingly asked at the CIO and CISO level. So on one side, we see customers who have had, sophisticated customers who have had strong on-prem integrated different product solutions. Now they're looking at something easier, but more importantly, moving it to the cloud. Like everything else, if you look at the last, let's say 20 years, we have seen a massive movement of compute and software to the cloud, right? With the cloud platform providers, the compute has gone to the cloud. With the SaaS providers, a lot of the software has gone to the cloud. SOCs are now following that same path, if you will. It's the same trajectory. Now SOC is all moving to the cloud. And our advantage is not only do we provide a platform, we also have the managed services piece of it, as in we have our experts who work closely with our customers and partners. And that's a huge differentiation. Because we have a platform, we don't have to compete with other MSSPs. Other MSSPs can use our platform to offer their services, and we are there if they need any help. If not, they can be off and running on their own.
I'd love to hear a bit more about the company itself. What year did it start?
So we actually started this as a project inside a much larger cybersecurity company, Trend Micro. This was in December of 2016. So it's been a while. We had a couple of really important luxuries, I'll say. Number one was we didn't have to worry about immediately raising any money and finance because we were financed by Trend Micro, which is the larger company, the parent company. And the second, more important leverage that we had is we had access to the largest of customers and partners who we talked to as we designed this platform. We co-designed it with them. We basically took the effort to ensure that what we are building is really useful in the context, or let's call it the real world context, and not something that we are dreaming it up, right? And so, so that's how it started. And then once we kept building, in 2018, we got really excited with what we had accomplished in a very short time frame. My co-founder, Justin Foster, who's the CTO of Cysiv, fantastic person and a very accomplished executive. He was leading the charge in terms of having the team and create something. We got really excited with what we had built. And in summer of 2018, we were able to spin this company out of Trend Micro and run this as a standalone company. And then we raised finances early this year, external investment from venture capitalists, and we're off and running.
So 2016, being able to get started, already having that freedom to invest in it and research, but 2018 really is hit the ground running, and then an additional investment over the past few years. Tell me about some use cases of clients that you have now. Of like, walk me through of how it works with implementation. What would a typical then use case in play look like?
Absolutely. So without naming the customer, I'm going to use the example of a healthcare customer. As you can imagine, they are front and center right now because of COVID-19. There's a lot of pressure on healthcare companies today. Hackers don't sleep. They don't worry about COVID-19. They're relentless, right? And in fact, the number of attacks just have gone up exponentially. And so, and healthcare is a big target. I'm sure you've seen the latest news around ransomware targeting a lot of the healthcare providers. And so this is one customer that we've been working with, and they were dealing with the challenges, right? They were dealing with the challenges of not only keeping up with COVID-19, but on the technology side, they did not have a proper security incident and event management infrastructure, which means there was no place to collect logs centrally and somebody to look at it, right? And we are all about data. Data is key to our business. The more data we have, the better we can perform, right? And so our first step in any journey is to sit down and do a mapping of all the data. What do they have? Do they have cloud setup? What kind of cloud infrastructure do they have? What kind of on-prem infrastructure do they have? What do they have on the networks? How are they segmented, right? So look at kind of the whole network topology and look at the data sources that we can pick from. And then we take these data sources and then we have a discussion around use cases. So what is the most important use case for our customers? Obviously, we have frameworks like MITRE ATT&CK, which is such an interesting framework and a very important framework for practitioners to wrap their heads around. How do I come up with my defense strategy, right? You look at the MITRE framework and say, am I protected for all these stages of an attack? And how do I prep? So that's kind of our anchor as well. So we look at the data, we look at the use cases that is important for the customer, and then obviously we advise them along the way in terms of our experience and what we have seen happening with their peers and other players in that same industry or whatever's topical at the time, and then come up with a plan on data ingestion. And like I said, we have near zero footprint, like we don't need to really install this anything on the customer's environment. So this customer, we like totally zero, nothing installed. So it was a question of making sure that we are picking up the right data and the right data sources in a phased manner. And so that was the next step, making sure that all the data is fed in, and then it gets into kind of our platform, our SOC takes over. And that's where the beauty of the solution is. At that point, unlike a typical outsourcing model in the past where MSSPs come in and make it more like a black box where they take in the data, they do their magic, and then they throw over whenever they find something to the other side. Unlike that model, we actually work very closely with our customers. Our SOC acts as an extended team of the customer CIO or CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. So we worked really closely to ensure that we are leveraging the power of the platform, the expertise that we have in-house. We have expertise like threat hunting, data science, threat research, all these expertise we bring in, and the power of data science and automation through the platform. Goal is to provide them 24/7 monitoring. Somebody not only taking the data, storing it for compliance and so on, but actually data science and people, so a combination of technology and people, keeping a watch 24/7, right? And that's key, just making sure that we are always watching it. And when we find an issue, when we find something of interest, we investigate and we validate whether it's an actual incident or not. And if it's an actual incident, we work with our customers to remediate and ensure that the gaps are plugged and that it doesn't happen again. And that's kind of the model of how we go from step 1 to kind of step 7.
Is one of the biggest wins, or for the CIO or CSIO, is peace of mind? Is it just the thought they don't have to worry about it anymore? Or is it definitely more of, I need someone to assist? Who do you get more of? People saying, I just want to give it all to you so that you just tell me if something happens and I need to worry about it then? Or I have a team and I need you to come alongside so we can work together? What happens more?
It's a combination. It's a combination of both. CIOs and CISOs do appreciate the platform and the expertise that we bring in, and it's hard to it comes from years of having worked in the field, and it's hard for, like I said, it's hard for our customers to hire and retain and train that talent, right? So this is really important for them. And at the same time, I know they're really excited about the notion that we're completely transparent. The platform, the data, everything is accessible to the customer, just like it is accessible to our own SOC. So they can log in at any time and look at any report, any dashboard, run any searches with our team. Like, it's completely transparent, and they love that transparency, right? It's
visibility. The visibility sounds like
Absolutely.
that's what's very helpful. Versus it's a closed box and you'll just let me know when something happens. You can get in there, get your hands dirty, understand it. It's not unable to be seen.
Exactly. And Alexander, what else is important is, customers like that sense of ownership as well, right? Like, they like to be involved because they may not have all the expertise, but there is significant expertise with our customers. They have the context on their environment. Like, I'll give you an example. At one of our customers, we suddenly saw a lot of traffic in the middle of the night, and we were like, oh, there's something going on. So we started investigating, and we immediately reached out to our customer, and the person responded back within 30 minutes and say, hey, don't bother. This is just our coffee machine going up. It's an IP-based coffee machine. Somebody must have switched it on, and it's just going crazy trying to do whatever it does, right? And that's, I use this as an example because we could have spent like at least a couple of hours or maybe a little bit longer or just trying to figure out what this was. But this happened in minutes, and we were able to say, okay, don't worry about this. This is expected behavior. And this context came from the customer. We would have taken, a few hours to come to that conclusion. And that's why I love this kind of tag teaming and working together. We take on all the responsibility. Don't get me wrong. We are responsible 24/7, but having that contextual help from the customers helps us be faster in terms of our investigation and response.
If you had to share a tip or an insight or just a thought, a recommendation around this field to a CIO or a chief security officer, what would you share? Any insight?
Yeah, we have learned a lot along the way, as you can imagine. We came in with the vision of making it easy for our customers, our CISOs, and making sure that they have access to platform and people, right? That was kind of the vision, and we wanted to make it very easy for our customers. The other thing we wanted to do was we wanted to make it very cybersecurity centric. In the past, most SIM products started as compliance tools, and they were retrofitted to work in the security context, right? But we are a tool for a SOC analyst. That's how we like to describe our tool. But for CIOs and CISOs, it's important for them to get an understanding of the risk profile, because without understanding the risk profile, it's really hard to have a conversation around what level of security you have. And there are frameworks. I use the example of MITRE framework because that happens to be a favorite of mine, but there are other frameworks. And using a framework as a guidance to look at your risk profile, and then taking and making sure that the CIOs and CISOs understand, most of them do, that it's a journey. You're not going to boil the ocean on day one. It's a journey. You're going to start somewhere, but you are going to be completely aware of where you are at in that SOC maturity journey. You start in stage A and you eventually go to stage F or whatever the goal is. And we help our customers through that process, right? We help them figure out where they are, and we have milestones identified along the way. And it's just that transparency and that importance for customers to sit down and say, and acknowledge that, okay, this is where we are, and let's solve this first, and then we go to the next step, and we go to the next step. So the journey is all around making sure that there is a complete understanding of their environment and the data we have, we have access to, that we can use to take them along the journey. And that also is a big assurance for CIOs and chief information security officers, as in, we're not asking for them to do massive investments and go from A to F all on the same day. It's about starting somewhere and then making incremental investments to keep going down the path of the SOC maturity journey.
Where can people go to learn more, and what's a good first step that they should take?
I obviously recommend Cysiv.com is a fantastic resource. We have tons of content. We produce a lot of videos. We have a lot of blogs. We have some experts who I personally learn from every day, like Justin Foster, and we have Toby, who is chief data scientist, Virendra, our data scientist, and Baz, our SOC leader. They're always producing content that we put on our website, LinkedIn, all over. But there are tons of content on the internet. Like if you want to start, I highly recommend MITRE framework is a good starting point just to understand the different attack stages and how do you deal with it. I also, for those who are interested, there is tons of courses as well, which are available, SANS and others who provide courses around SOC management and monitoring. So that's about keeping up. And then starting to think about what's in the future, right? And keeping your fingers on that pulse. There is content all around, which could be very useful as well.
Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.